Hey everybody, how is it going today? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I want to talk about Skillz, ticker symbol SKLZ. Skillz is making a very nice rounded bottom formation, and I've taken a position in it. So in this video, I'm going to go over that trade, and then I want to go into another trade that I made on Skillz that was a loser. Now, before I get started, as always, everybody, please remember I am not a financial advisor. All of this is just my opinion and for entertainment purposes only. Please make all of your own trading decisions. All right, well, I'm going to start off with this news article. This one came out today, but it's actually of an interview from about a week or so ago. If you guys want to watch that full interview, I'll link that down in the description. But this article just basically goes over the meat and potatoes of what they talk about. And they were talking about how Skillz valuation is starting to get much more attractive. This article was put out by the Motley Fool. And it says, Skillz still has to execute on its business plan, but its stock valuation is getting attractive. It says, the mobile gaming platform Skillz has seen its stock soar only to come crashing back down and hit new all-time lows. The stock is now down an excruciating 80% from its all-time high in February, and there's no sugarcoating it. This has not been a fun time for investors, really. However, there may be a bright side to Skillz plunge for anyone looking to invest some new money today, because the stock now trades at a far more reasonable valuation than it did before. Funny how that happens when it's off 80%, but let's get down to what else they were talking about. And basically, this guy was saying that when these SPACs get below $10 a share, that's really when they pique his interest. And that's honestly when I start getting really interested in some of these SPACs, and a lot of them have fallen below that $10 offering price. So if you guys were looking at some SPACs and they kind of took off without you, revisit them if they've kind of fallen off your radar, because a lot of them have fallen off quite a bit, and some of them are below the $10 price. And I think Skillz was one of them before today. It might be over $10 a share right now. But scrolling down a little bit to where they talk about the valuation, it says, but what is interesting for investors today is that the valuation has gotten a lot more attractive. From that perspective, if they execute, this is actually turning into a much more reasonable or much more lucrative opportunity for investors. I just want to point out right now, on a fully diluted basis, Skillz market cap, including their outstanding warrants, is about $3.9 billion. The company expects to do $389 million in revenue this year, so 10 times this year's sale if he's using that metric. So that's actually not terrible, and certainly it's a heck of a lot better than it was back in February. But it says, for a company that expects to grow that top line at 69% year over year, that's actually a fairly decent valuation. Next year, they expect to have $555 million in revenue, and that's trading at 7 times next year's revenue, while still growing the top line at over 40% with 95% gross margins. So if Skillz continues to hang around below $10 a share, or just goes sideways, or anywhere near $10 a share for the next 4, 6, 8 months or so, I think this one is going to get super attractive. I haven't jumped in and bought any shares for the long haul. I am making some trades on it, and let's actually get into that right now. All right, well, I'm going to start off with the daily chart for Skillz. And as we can see, Skillz is stuck in this ginormous descending wedge formation. I've been watching this one closely for the last few months, and it's really starting to tighten up right now. So this is when I start to look for that breakout out of that descending wedge, and it looks like we are finally starting to get it. But just looking at this chart makes me realize how much I absolutely love the stock market. You can see that the market valued Skillz at right around $46 a share back in February. And even though the Skillz has continued to grow as a company, the market says this thing is barely worth $10 a share right now. So you just never know what is going to happen with the market. When stocks get hot, they can go crazy and go on one of these blow-off moves, and then come crashing back down to earth just as fast. And if you are a technician, you can see these kind of formations starting to take off, and then of course you can notice these blow-off tops. And once they break below these moving averages, it's either time to get out of the stock, or start buying those puts, or if you like to play with fire, you can go short it. Hopefully you don't get caught in one of those short squeezes. But man, Definitely some great moves on Skillz on the daily chart, but let's actually get this descending wedge out of here and take a look closer at what's been going on lately. We can see Skillz made a very nice little V bottom right here and then started to hold that 8-period exponential moving average, and now we are getting that breakout. Once you see a little V bottom like this, a break above the 8-period exponential moving average, and then a sideways move, that is when I start to look for those rounded bottom formations, and the saliva starts to drip down the side of my face, because I know if we get a breakout of that neckline, sometimes they can be very explosive and lead to very nice trades. Now, I am currently a shareholder in Skillz, so first full disclosure, but I do plan on only trading this for the short term. We are coming up on that 50-period simple moving average, so that is probably definitely going to be an obstacle if we get there. So I might end up taking some of my position off right there. Now, as far as the valuation on Skillz and the chart pattern, I kind of like to see it go sideways for another 6 or 9 months or so, and then I would really start to get interested in owning this one for the long term. The valuation is still a tad rich for me, but man, if this, like I said, if this thing continues to go sideways for another 6 to 12 months or so and continues to grow the way that it is, then this thing is going to be very compelling as a long-term position. But let's go to the intraday chart, and I'll show you what I mean with this little rounded bottom formation. All right, well, jumping over to the 15-minute chart, we can see this rounded bottom a little bit clearer, and we definitely see that it's a little bit of an inverted head and shoulders, which rounded bottoms sometimes tend to look that way. We got this left shoulder right here. We have the head, which is the false breakdown, then the sharp move back up into this consolidation range, which of course forms that right shoulder, and then you have this well-defined neckline right here. So once I see this type of pattern forming, I look for a breakout of the neckline, and I actually got in on Skillz yesterday at about $9.31, I think. Unfortunately, the thing rolled back over, but it did not stop me out because I had my stop loss actually below this level right here. So fortunately, it did not stop me out, and it is exploding today, so I am in the green. Hopefully, Skillz continues higher. But just looking at this chart right here, we can see we got a little bit of a bullish pennant formation, a bullish triangle formation, and just a quick tip on these bullish pennant formations. These tend to work out more as breakouts to the upside when they are really close to that rounded bottom breakout. Once the move gets extended a bit, these things tend to be bull traps more often than not. You know, you'll see this type of formation starting to happen, and in my younger days, you know, I try to get in right about here, anticipating that breakout to the upside, and the thing would invariably break down more often than not, you know, creating that bull trap. So just a quick tip on those bullish triangle formations. But this is actually the second trade that I've made on Skillz in the last week or so. So let me show you that first trade that I made and what I was thinking. Let me back it up in time right here. The market itself was bottoming, and what I wanted to do was find a stock that was making a rounded bottom formation and had the potential to go up sharply if the market did rally, which the market did, but unfortunately for me, Skillz did not. So you can see Skillz was still making that rounded bottom formation, had a decent looking neckline right here, and one of the things that attracted me to this chart was because we had this sharp move up right into that neckline, and then Skillz just continued to hover right around that neckline, staying near the high point of the range. So that made me think that there was a lot of strength in Skillz, and if we got a breakout, even though this breakout wasn't really all that strong, so that should have been a red flag for me, but I thought if we got a breakout above this neckline, Skillz had the possibility of going on a big run. So I entered right here, and as I walk it forward, you can see I was up just a little bit for a minute or so until this thing reversed hard and broke down through that neckline. I put my stop loss below this support area at actually $8.84, and unfortunately it stopped me out rather quickly. And you know, back in my earlier days of trading, I probably would have just went on to another stock, but there is no rule that says you cannot get back into a stock. So I continued to watch Skillz, and it started to move sideways and actually get its footing again and then start to move back up. So I told myself if we got another breakout, I thought there was a good possibility Skillz would be strong, and we actually got that breakout, and that's when I bought back in. But looking at this chart in retrospect, in my earlier days, I probably would have stayed in this trade longer, and it would have worked out, and that would have reinforced a bad habit. Now, the reason why I say that's a bad habit, because the reason why I entered this trade was because of this breakout right here. Once this thing broke down, the reason for entering that trade was no longer valid. And in my earlier days of trading, once the stock would break down after the reason why I got in a trade, I would look for reasons to stay in. Now, invariably, you're going to have a massive loser if you don't stick to your stop losses, because this one could have easily rolled down and just turned into a big loss, because once it got into this area, you know, I could have justified staying in the trade. Well, maybe it's going to bounce off this yellow line right here, this 200 period simple moving average. And then if that broke down through there, hey, well, maybe this area is going to hold right here. This was support last time. I probably should stay in it. And then you can see that loss just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And your capital is very important as a trader. It's your oxygen, so you want to protect it at all costs. But I just wanted to go over and show you that trade, because even though if I would have stayed in the trade, it probably would have worked out a little bit better. When you have a plan to get into a trade, you got to stick to it. And here's another tip for sticking to your trading plan. I've noticed, for me anyway, it's been easier to stick to my trading plan when I write it down on paper. Like as I'm entering the trade, or just before I'm entering the trade, I write down my entry, I write down my profit target, and I write down my stop on paper. And the reason why I do that, when I write it down on paper, I found for me it's been easier to have the discipline to follow it. When I just have those numbers in my head, it's adjustable, and then I start rationalizing why I should stay in the trade. And you can do that sometimes, and sometimes you're going to get away with it. But eventually, you're going to have a massive loser, and you're going to, you know, have a lot of damage done to your portfolio. And you know, it takes a lot of work to dig yourself out of that. So I just wanted to go over that trade and show you my thinking as. You know, I got stopped out of that previous trade, and then of course, you know, I ended up jumping back then into it again. Hopefully it works out this time, but just wanted to give you my thoughts on that trade.
All right, guys, well, that's all I have for this video, so I'm going to end it right there. But if you have any questions about any of these stocks, or if you have any other stocks you want me to take a look at, please leave them down there in the comment section. I will get to them as soon as I can. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching my video all the way to the end, guys, and until next time, take care.